Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition or episode of the Hare Krishna Project podcast. This is episode number 133. I cannot believe it, yes, that we've made it to 133 episodes without being struck off air or someone else has complained about something or whatever. 133 episodes, and I thought we're climbing up some kind of ladder to something. I don't know where we're climbing to, but 133 is fantastic. Thank you to everyone that tunes in from all over the world to listen to our guests. I really appreciate it. We get a huge number of viewers from all parts of the planet, which I really appreciate. Do not forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, to hit the subscribe button. That's the best way, if you haven't already, to keep updated about the Hare Krishna Project podcast. Or if you're watching this on Facebook, please do like or follow the Hare Krishna Project Facebook page so you can be kept updated about future podcasts and video productions from the Hare Krishna Project. Right, okay, this week's episode, as you know, we're traveling around the world, all these guests. We've just been to Sweden. We've had someone recently before that from India, someone before that from the UK. And this week, we're going back to the United States of America, that country we hear about on the news all the time. I don't know why we hear about it on the news all the time. Must be something happening there soon. But even on British news, they talk about America. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome our guest this week. It's Ishana Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. No worries. It's great to have you with us. I'm really excited about this discussion, actually, for a number of reasons, which will become apparent in a moment. I've probably known of your existence for some time. Sounds a bit creepy, doesn't it? I've known of your existence for some time. And yes, absolutely. And I've certainly seen you on certain various Zoom meetings. We've attended virtually the same Vyasa Pujas over the years. That gives people a bit of a clue to our link. But we have attended virtually the same Vyasa Pujas over the years. So, Ishana, we're going to start with a nice, easy question. It's the question that every guest gets, just to warm them up a bit. Please tell us a little bit about you and where you are from.
I was born and raised in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And my father is a military Marine from Brazil. And I had this type of education with discipline stuff. It wasn't new for me at all. And I think ask more questions so I can answer.
Wow. So you're from Brazil. You're from Brazil, and your father was in the military. So you were traveling a lot as a child.
No, not actually.
Okay.
Well, I did, but not as usual like others, because of I think because the grades internally in the courses, internally in the Marine, my father was always like first, second, third, he was always requested to do training, and the place of the training historically of the Marines is in Rio de Janeiro. And so he stayed a lot there. And a couple of times, well, 3 times. One time he went to the base in Puerto Rico. I didn't go. My family didn't go. I have a sister. So my mom, my sister, and myself we didn't go. But the second time he went to here in the United States, in Quantico, Virginia, Marine Corps base, and I lived there for 6 months. I was 11. And then when I was 14, he lived for about 9 months in California, Campanatone, and there was another base there. And I lived there for almost 4 months with my sister.
Wow. Wow. And did you have any particular kind of religious upbringing at all?
Yes, I was raised as a Christian Catholic. I study, and the first time when I came back to Brazil, I finished the first section is a little bit different. I don't know how in England, in UK, the system of school, but here in the United States, you have elementary school, middle school, high school, right? In Brazil was a little bit different. You have the first section, second section, third section, but it's divided differently. So when I came back from here to Brazil, I did different tests to go to different schools, and I passed on this top school in Rio de Janeiro, in one of the best in Latin America, and it's a Christian Catholic school, actually Jesuit school, and I learned there, and we had to study, the Bible. We had to study, proper things. And I haven't done my first communion and the Chrisma. I don't know if that's the proper name. Also in UK, is this the second time when you confirmation, right?
Yes, confirmation. It's called confirmation.
Confirmation is the word. Yeah. So I did both at the same time. When I was 16, I was into it, always in Jesus and God, which I still am, but I was always into it a lot. And but things turns in different directions after a while.
So tell us a bit about this. This leads us nicely onto the second question. Tell us about that different direction. How did you discover Krishna consciousness? How did you meet the devotees?
I start to question the philosophy in Christianism and what happens after death and different things. I would start to questioning those things. How come Jesus is the only savior if there's other points of view? What about before Jesus? I was always asking this question. I remember also something that is quite interesting to me, probably to someone else. I remember when I was 7, I guess, 9, something. I remember walking in the street and thinking, what was I in my previous life? Maybe I was this person. Maybe I was that person. Maybe I was just a criminal. Maybe no, I didn't want to be a criminal. Maybe I was, speculating that kind of a topic in my head. I was 7, 9 years old. When I entered in that school, when I was 11, 12, I kind of forgot all those things because there's no such a thing of reincarnation in the Christianism ideas. So I kind of forgot, but it came back when I was 18-ish, something. And then gradually it was increasing. And then the questioning started to happen again. And then I was 19, I had this guitar teacher. I was studying guitar, the acoustic guitar. And he was vegetarian. And he was very spiritualist. And he started to challenging me and a friend of mine. We were both together, my friend from high school, and we're still friends to this day. And we kind of joined the same, So those questions, and I didn't have the answers. I didn't know, and so he gave me some books, and I think it was Krishna giving a preparation, because the books were not Krishna consciousness. Actually, was a lot involving psychedelics and things like that. And that was the ending of hippie stuff in Brazil. So I was reading, and then he gave me like Hermann Hesse. I don't know if you've heard about Siddhartha, and some books with some Western philosophy. And I was, oh, this is amazing. And I started to connect what I was feeling when I was a little kid. And then everything started to make sense, and I became vegetarian, and and then one of those books, after, doing this for, I don't know, probably about a year, already being vegetarian, and he gave me a Prabhupada book, and it was perfect question, perfect answers. And that was, I really enjoyed. And there, Prabhupada teaches to chant Hare Krishna. And I started to chant Hare Krishna. I started to chant.
Mm.
And I was chanting wrong. I didn't know. Later, I learned. Because the R in Portuguese at the beginning of a word is pronounced like an H. Ha. But very noisy. Ha. So I was saying Hari Rama instead of Hari Rama. But anyway, was that, and then he had a student that was a devotee, and so you need to meet this person. So I went to meet him. He gave me a job. He told me how to chant, and I started chanting. And then I was after the Bhagavad Gita, and I read the Bhagavad Gita. But because of the inflation in Brazil, they divided the Bhagavad Gita in 3 parts, 6 chapters, and 6 chapters, because it was very expensive to print and to sell for Sankirtan. So I read the first 6 chapters, and there was no Prabhupada biography in it. So I need to meet Prabhupada. I want to meet him. So I started to pray to meet Prabhupada. And then I found the whole Bhagavad Gita. So I read the whole Bhagavad Gita. In the end of Bhagavad Gita was Prabhupada's biography, and he was gone. And I said, whoa, what am I going to do? And then, well, there's an address here. So I went to the temple. It was 1981.
And which temple was this?
Rio de Janeiro.
Wow. And tell us about your first encounter with the devotees, in terms of going to the temple, starting to build links, finding a guru. Tell us about those early years. What was happening for you in your life?
Well, I saw the devotees, and I didn't know. When I was in vacation, because my father, as a military, he was as a commander in another city called Salvador, the state of Bahia in Brazil. It's a very festive, state. It's always a party. There would be good devotees, because devotees love parties, right? So I went there, and from a distance, I was already reading those books, So I saw from a distance the devotees passing by doing Harinam, but very far from me. But I saw them very far, because I was in a place that was at the coast. One side is a beach, and one side is just like a deck thing, and no beach. And I was on that side looking to the beach, about almost a mile away, less than a mile, something. So I saw the devotees, rather small there, no sound, just going. I said, wow, I saw this light. I don't know, I had some experience. I can't put it into words exactly. So that was the first time. And then when I went to the temple, I connected. Oh, you're those guys, And another thing that happened emotionally was a little convoluted in my life, in terms of, the relationship with a girlfriend that I had. And it was going south, like they say here in the United States. And at the same time, I wasn't happy with what I was studying. I was studying engineering, and I wasn't happy with that. I'm an artistic person, I like music and things like that, and I want to change. So I went to the temple, and then I felt at home. I didn't want to go home, but I had to go home at first. And then I started going to the temple here and there, and I was helping. It was a little far. And the day they moved, because it was rented, it wasn't owner. It wasn't owned property, it was a rental. So when they moved from this area, which was a little far from the, the really good areas, they moved closer. I helped them move. And then I had already, how to say, not canceled. I put a hold on my, in university. I don't know how you say it.
Mm.
But you put a hold on your studies. And my parents were freaking out, of course, for them. I think I'm suffering the same now with my daughter, but but anyway, but we were good friends nowadays, my parents and I. I have actually some realizations with him. So I was in this timing, and then there's this devotee. Now he's a sannyasi guru, dear friend of mine, Chandramukha Swami. At the time, he wasn't a Swami, he was just a brahmachari. And then he was kind of the leader of the temple, not the temple president, but he was a leader in Sankirtan and things like that. And then he just turned to me and said, okay. And my legal name is Eugenio. So, okay, Eugenio, what you going to do with your life? I said, what am I going to do with my life? Well, right now, I don't know. I just said it. Okay, so stay in the temple for 6 months, a year, put your head in order, get some training in spiritual life, and take this to the rest of your life. Well, that's great. Okay. And I stayed 10 years.
Wow.
And I was Sankirtan leader, and then I was vice president, treasurer, temple president. And then I realized that I have to get married. So I got married in 1991, and I'm still married.
Mm.
And my wife, Krishna Varna, still married since 33 years now.
Wow, congratulations. Congratulations.
And yeah, and there was a moment that her mother was already living here in the United States after her father passed away. And she remarried, and she wanted us to come. And I said, oh, I'm just going to go to the United States. What am I going to do there? I was already doing computer graphics, and I was good at it. And I was having connections in Rio de Janeiro. What am I going to do? Okay, let's see what Krishna arranged. So my wife connected all the documentations. We found a devotee, which is a Prabhupada disciple, to do our papers. His name is Mrigendra. And he is a lawyer. And he did the papers, and it was approved. And I left Brazil with a green card in my hand. I never heard this before. So I said, okay, Krishna's sending me to the United States. Let's see what happens. And then things happening here. I was director of ISKCON Orlando, and for many years, and treasurer there. And then came situation at the temple. I wasn't feeling productive, really. I didn't want to just to be a treasurer. I want to do more. And then it came the idea of Krishna West in 2013. And then I had this meeting with H.D. Goswami, and then things developed from there.
I was going to ask a question about Hridayananda Goswami, and then you kind of beat me to it in terms of the name check. So you were initiated by Hridayananda Maharaj, I think.
1983, I received both initiations, the first and the second.
Can you just talk a bit about that with us in terms of Hridayananda Maharaj? I think was the GBC for Brazil or the whole of South America at the time, was it?
South America for sure. I don't know if it's all Latin America.
Yeah,
I don't remember exactly. but for sure South America. There was the zonal Acharya stuff that happened.
Mm. And I think what I think what I find impressive, if that makes sense, I think what I find impressive is that you took an initiation from Hridayananda Maharaj in 1983, and still all these years later, you're still following him. Now um, a lot of devotees might think that I'm making a bizarre comment, but actually I don't think it's bizarre at all, because Hridayananda Maharaj himself has been on a journey, hasn't he? You know, you've just talked about Krishna West, which was officially founded in 2013, but Hridayananda Maharaj wasn't Krishna West in 1983, and so I think it's quite it's a positive thing that you've been on that journey with him.
Yes, I've been, I know him since then. I was a Bhakta and I served him when he was there once, and we spoke a little bit, and there was already a connection. But before that, when I went to live in the temple as a brahmachari, there was no exactly, oh, you're going to be initiated by Hridayananda Swami, blah, blah, blah. No, there was no such a thing. Nobody was talking about that. It was a guru. That was all. Nobody saying, oh, you have to be initiated. There was no pressure. There was nothing like that at all. And right in the beginning, there was a festival, which was, at that time, they were giving, you have to live in a temple for 6 months, at least, to be initiated. And like 3 months later, when I started to live in the temple, there was this festival in a farm in Brazil called Nova Gokula, New Gokula. And it was too soon for initiation. So I was in initiation then, because, oh, it's too soon, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then I met H.D. Goswami there for the first time. And then when I met him, immediately I felt a connection. And immediately I felt, okay, this is my guru. It wasn't any pressure, someone saying, no, it was none of that at all. There was a lot of Prabhupada disciples, nobody was making any pressure. The temple president was Prabhupada disciple. The head secretary was Prabhupada disciple. So there was no such a thing. And it was like 3 months. And I made a decision. I saw it, okay, that's it. And then I spent this whole festival, like 2 weeks or 10 days. It was amazing and very austere. But it was very amazing. And I made a decision then. And I had a lot of talks with him, throughout the years.
So tell us a bit about 2013. So Krishna West had been officially launched publicly, and you met with Hridayananda Maharaj, about the project and how you could be involved. Tell us about that conversation, and also about the early days of Krishna West. What was kind of happening behind the scenes?
No, I think we're still in the early days. We are in different times. People don't join to be in the temple as much, as very little. So it's a different dynamic. So I think we're still in the early days, after even after 10 years. It was end of 2013. So I personally don't count much to 2013. I think about 2014, because when I started doing experimenting, But we had a conversation, and the conversation, he was explaining to me that he has a huge concern. It started like that, I remember. And the huge concern is that we are not making Western devotees. We are not attracting Westerners, even to become our friend. And I'm being concerned about that for a few years now. And I decided to start studying why. And then he did his PhD, that he did all that study. And then he was saying that he realized that We're trying to impose a culture instead of spiritual science. And it could be attractive to some and not attractive to others. And and the ones attracted, they have to participate in this culture. And if they don't want, they feel outsiders, and they disappear, they go away. And that happens. I participated in directing as a director and treasurer here in ISKCON Orlando since 2006. And I was seeing that happening. And he was explaining that it's nothing to do with judging the culture. That's not the point. Because I saw later, throughout 2014, 2015, some comments from other devotees, like Krishna West is saying that the culture, Vedic culture, or the culture that devotees are immersed in it is wrong, or something like that. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. Actually, most of the Krishna West love all that stuff, even the dhotis, the saris, and the smells and the colors, and these, it's beautiful. There's nothing to do with it at all. It has to do with the question, what can I do to present this knowledge without changing one little dot from it and attract the Western people? That's the point. So he thought about it, and he decided to start this Krishna West without any direct idea of how we're going to do. But the first thing is to change our appearance, change and become like Western culture, but not like hippies. Prabhupada was always afraid of that to happen. We know that that's not it. But to be presented in nice clothes and clean and, organized life in terms of not being too much, hippie style, crazy. Professionals, be part of society, collaborating with the society. But we are Krishna devotees. We follow this philosophy. We are like this, like that. We don't eat meat. We don't, we chant Hare Krishna. All those things. We study the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. We follow our Founder-Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Nothing changed at all, but is a presentation, simple presentation. And again, is not also the idea of being against anything. It's not the point at all. For example, in here in the United States, in Canada, which I know more, I don't know much about. I know some in UK because my sister lives there, and I go often, and I visit Soho, I visit the manor, and I see that there is not in a manor much. Manor is very, very active. Soho, I thought, was a little more or less in terms of activities. But here in the United States, very little activity. Very little. With exceptions. And it's not that we shouldn't do the care of the people that are coming. People that are coming here are Indians and Indians' heritage. And we have to take care of them. So this type of presentation and care for them, it needs to exist. They also are spiritual souls. We can't neglect anyone. I don't think Prabhupada will be happy at all And that's the idea. So, and Hridayananda Goswami always tells us this. There has to be, they do that, and they're doing very nicely. Keep doing. If there's their feeling of their dharma is to do that, their duties, then do that, no problem. But not only that, we need to now approach everybody else that has no interest in that kind of culture. Of course, they don't know, but they don't have. And we're trying different ideas, different things. Next Saturday, we're going to have a big kirtan here because there is a devotee, Indian heritage, and he understood the concept. He had a heart problem, so he started to do yoga. He became a yoga teacher. He started to connect with people, and he preached, he connects, and he started to do this community kirtans, and very nice, being very successful. And he's grabbing people from the yoga community, not those ones that just wanted the body stuff, no, the ones that want some understanding. They study Patanjali, they study the Ashtanga Yoga, they study Bhagavad Gita. Very nice. And they're going to come here. I offer my house for them. So they're going to come. We're going to have this big kirtan. There is about 60 people, but only like 20 come. There's always like that. And I'm glad. Different approaches, different ways. I was doing in-person meetings. We were having an average of 15 to 20 people every meeting. I distributed Prabhupada's books at every session meeting. I bought about now in these, and I started this in 2017. So it's about, I stopped because of the pandemic in 2020. So I did it for about 4 years, and we distributed about 1,500 books and Bhagavad Gita, small books, etc. We had to stop this program, and there was a little gap for a few months to started to do online. And I do it online, and I connected with people all over the world, actually. A lot from UK. A lot of people from UK came. But it's the time difference. I see that they don't come often, it's difficult. And I also feel that we need some in-person connection. You can't beat that.
I agree
Zoom
completely. I agree.
Zoom is great, but in the spiritual world, we're not on Zoom, right? So
how long have you been running your Krishna West group in Orlando, Florida? How long has it been running?
In a very systematic way since 2017. I was trying to do it at home, and it was been difficult. How I'm going to announce. People was a little concerned to come to a house of a person they don't know. I had that experience, and I had also the experience that some were telling me, if you put this public, you could have some thieves coming to your house. It's not a good idea. And I start to think, oh, Krishna, what am I going to do? I have to get a place. And then there was a devotee. She is the owner of this yoga studio kind of thing with Ayurveda, all those different things. And she offered her room, and we started to do that. That was 2017. So systematically, since 2017, we stopped in 2020. And in 2023, beginning of 23, I started the in person again, gradually. And I'm feeling that it's not being the same as it was before. So I have to get out of my comfort zone once more and do something.
And in terms of the people that attend the Krishna West gatherings, what types of people are they? How do you find them? How do they become interested?
Well, I have the Facebook account. I have Instagram, but I also sign up for Meetup. It's a platform that you meet people, and they have different meetings, and you can announce the meetings, etc. and also one called Eventbrite. I don't know if you have this there.
Yeah,
You do.
yeah.
Okay. So I sign up for those things. I start to post things there, and people start to get interested. They sign up. They never come. It's always like this, you know. I have like almost 400 people on the group on Meetup, but
Wow.
actually 50 came, you know. And it's always from all the ranges, people that have known, heard, or read Bhagavad Gita, to
Hmm.
people that has no idea of anything, zero, but they're interested in the spiritual life.
Hmm. Hmm.
All this range of people.
Hmm. So you've got a meetup database or meetup list of around 400 people. You can get up to 20 people attending the gatherings. It sounds like this Krishna West group that you're running in Orlando is quite successful. You know, to find these people and bring them together sounds like quite a success.
I don't think that yet,
Mm.
because there's a turnaround. I think just like any other temple, right? Any other situation. People come, stay for a while, blah, 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 and then disappear. And then another person join in, you know. So the turnaround's a little, we have one that was initiated, and have like 3 others that are staying and chant Hare Krishna. So I say 4 people became really, others became devotees, but they became devotees, but they don't participate much. And although those only 4 really participate, and everybody has their own difficulties, this and that. But so I don't quite feel is a success yet.
Another, I mean, forgive me for all these questions, but the Krishna West gatherings, are they kind of pitched as Hare Krishna meetings, or do people coming know it's a Hare Krishna type event?
Not in this way, but in Bhakti Yoga.
Mm. Okay.
Bhakti Yoga meetings, Bhagavad Gita, and Bhakti Yoga, main thing. That's the main, the highlight, I would say, of the titles is Bhakti Yoga, spiritual science, and Bhagavad Gita.
And is there, I mean, I don't know the answer to this, is there also an ISKCON temple in Orlando, Florida?
Yes.
And what do they think about the Krishna West meetings happening?
We are friends.
Good.
Because the devotee is a friend of mine, and the temple president, and I helped him to be the temple president.
Yeah. I mean, they're not, I mean, hopefully I hope they don't feel threatened in any way.
We have some talks about it.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how he feels, but there's always this, let's say, competition, feeling.
Yeah.
You know, when you're doing Sankirtan, there's always a little bit of competition. Prabhupada liked the competition.
Yes.
But I don't like to be on that mood much. I think I want to be open. I want to be, I'm not the owner, Bhaktaram, Jagatapasam, Sarvalokam Maheshwaram, Krishna's the owner of everything, not me. I'm not the owner on anyone, so I like to think that way. And actually, the initiated devotee, Om Krishna, he goes to the temple and do service there. He takes care of Prabhupada's murti, So, and I'm happy for that.
And in terms of, I'm trying to think of how I ask this. In terms of initiation from Krishna West or in Krishna West, is there a push or emphasis or encouragement for members to take initiation from Hridayananda Goswami?
No, not on my part. I
No.
cannot answer for everyone. And when Om Krishna, which accepted Hridayananda Maharaj, he told me, I want to be initiated. I know. And I know that he was chanting. I know that he was following the principles. I was following him. He going to the temple. The temple president could also testify. And I said to him, what you're looking for? You have to look for it. I said, well, one thing has to be, he needs to speak Spanish because he's speaking Spanish country. He's from Panama, Mexico and Panama. Okay. So I know this, and I pointed out 3, 4 for them that I know that they speak Spanish. That I know Mahatma Prabhu, he preaches a lot in Mexico and things like that. I know there's I forgot his name at the moment.
Yeah, I can picture 2 or 3 that probably speak Spanish, but I've forgotten their names, which is terrible.
Yeah,
But I
forgot his
also
name.
I
So I
also
told him all this to check it out. And then in the end, he said, a few months later, he told me, I made a decision. I've been hearing Hridayananda Maharaj, and he's the type of mood that I like. Okay, I'm going to introduce you. So I did introduction, and then we follow the same program in ISKCON. You have to do the course. You have to do everything and follow the specific connection. And after a year, then we can recommend you. And I spoke with the Dwaipayana, the temple president here, and we recommended him.
I was just kind of intrigued because often people will be attracted to Krishna West meetings or Bhakti Yoga meetings because it's maybe quite relaxed in terms of dress code and attire. And of course, people should be attracted to the spiritual science and the philosophy, not the clothes. But for some people, that might then follow through, and therefore they'll be looking for a guru that also follows that approach in terms of Western clothing. And I mean, I think the other reason I asked is because in the UK we have a lot of Bhakti Vriksha groups. So Bhakti Vriksha is an initiative from Jayapataka Swami, and
yes,
this is from what I've seen. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, and people can get in touch if I am wrong. But from what I'm seeing, people who join Bhakti Vriksha groups in London often do become disciples of Jayapataka Swami. So I was just kind of wondering if there's a similar kind of trail there. But I really
think there's always an influence. There's
Yeah.
always you can separate things like this. You get to know Krishna consciousness, and you become awaken. You know what I mean? So and you realize all the stuff. There's a connection. And who taught you that? Oh, was Prabhupada. Okay, but Prabhupada is not here. Who's the devotee that represented Prabhupada to me? Oh, who is there with the devotee? That devotee is Jayapataka Swami, Hridayananda Swami, and a Bhakti Center, for example. I don't think that's I don't see the way some devotees sees, some people see, but it's a natural thing. You can remove emotion and connectivity to someone like a thing that you can remove from your pocket, Can't. It's natural. I don't think it's a big deal. Not concerned about that at all.
Do you think that devotees, sorry if these questions sound a bit kind of obvious, but because a lot of people watching this podcast won't know what Krishna West is, and they won't understand it, and others will have heard about it but are a bit unsure, or even fearful. Some people in ISKCON think that Krishna West is like a rival group, and I've had to explain it's not. It's part of ISKCON. It's authorized. It's allowed to operate within, the ISKCON family. The family. We're a big family. However, saying that, do you think that devotees wearing traditional clothes like dhotis, saris, kurtas, do you think those traditional clothes can put off newcomers from joining the movement?
Yes, that was my experience. A
Yeah.
lot of people came to the program said that he would never have gone to a temple. And the ones that I said, no, let's go to the temple. Check it out. It's on this address here. And they went. Next meeting, how it was, because I couldn't go or whatever happened. And how did it go? They were very polite and similar answers, but like, oh, yeah, it's very interesting. That was that. End of the story.
Yeah.
And I didn't ask anything else. I don't want to put anybody on the spot or uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think just now you talked about how in terms of the ISKCON movement in America and how, sorry, in the United States, and how you're not seeing a huge growth in Western people joining, or in other words, Caucasian people. You know, I have to watch my words, what I say. And
No,
that is
Westerns, no,
Western.
Russian heritage people.
Yeah. And that's the same in the UK. You know, that there are a lot more Indians joining Bhaktivedanta Mana because the Indian community in Britain is growing. We have a big Indian community here because of Britain's historical links with India. But in terms of the number of Caucasian people, Western people joining, it's incredibly small. It's incredibly small, and people will visit Bhaktivedanta Manor and other temples once or twice, but they feel, you don't see them again. They feel like put off because, you know, they don't want to wear those particular clothes. And also, I have to say, I wasn't, shall I say this on the podcast? Yes, you know, shall I say it? I will say it. In Bhaktivedanta Manor, a lot of people speak Gujarati.
Oh.
You know, because they're Gujarati. So if you don't speak Gujarati, you're a bit stuck. You know, so that as wonderful as Gujaratis are, I don't want to upset people. If people don't speak Gujarati, they feel like they don't fit in. You know, and this is the problem we have in the UK. And I'd actually say it's even worse in mainland Europe. You know, you know, the number of Westerners joining is incredibly small, and people are put off by people feel they have to wear these particular clothes, or they always have to eat rice and dal all the time. Yes.
Spicy.
Yeah, yeah. And
I personally feel unhealthy. I get sick all the time.
Yeah.
If I eat all that kind of you know, spicy, hot stuff.
So I guess in another way to kind of put it, I've never been to the United States, not yet. And so I'm just wondering, within ISKCON temples in the United States, is it the same as the UK? Are there a large number of people of Indian heritage?
Yes. Yes.
And Western people feel like they don't fit in.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are some that love and just boom, just go. Of course, there's all kinds of people, variety, but that's rare. There's there's a devotee, Kalakanta, in Gainesville. He formed the Bhakti house, and he follows basically Krishna West ideas, not fully, it's a little different. And he's been very successful. The devotees go out and they distribute books and come back, and everything is, you are welcome the way you are. And then, you know, devotees, some use dhotis, some don't. It's a variety, nobody cares, you know, and it means very successful. You know, and then they came here in Orlando. They stayed for some period of time. You know, they have meetings there. It was coming from, because it's like 5 minutes from the university, University of Central Florida, 60,000 students. And They were very successful, I think. Each meeting were like 25, 30 people, students. And I think 4 or 5 became devotees. But they moved on. They went to Dallas now. They're in Dallas because they have some better facilities. I don't know the reason exactly, but they left. And since then, that was that. There are 4, 5 Westerners. And then the rest of the community of, let's say, 100, it's Indians or Indian heritage. They were born here, but Indian heritage.
When you see that ISKCON is failing to attract Westerners, how does that make you feel in terms of, does it give you cause for concern, or does it encourage you even more to kind of grow Krishna West?
I don't think I think that. Now that you're asking, I have to think about it because I never thought that way. Of course, I have the concern that Westerners are not coming. I have that concern, of course. And what can I do to collaborate, to participate, to encourage a change? And we're trying that way of Krishna West. And I think because I am I'm a grihasta and full-time job, Monday to Friday, and I have very limited time compared when I was a brahmachari living in a temple. So based on those situations and that situation, I think we're advancing. For sure, we're advancing. And now we have a group of different Krishna West, let's say, members throughout the United States, and a couple of them started a new initiative with a online community, and they are paying for this app to people to. It's like a social media only Hare Krishna. And then we have this Krishna West family, and it's growing, and programs are happening, and it's growing, more people are coming. There's initiatives in different parts. So I think things are growing for sure. So I don't think that the difficulty, the problem, which is a concern, but I don't think about is getting me motivated to do what I'm doing. And it's nothing to do with that. I don't feel that way at all.
You don't feel like there's this
you
don't feel like there's this like desperation. I can see that the temples are all full of people of Indian heritage. I've got to move even quicker to try and get more Westerners. Do you not feel like that?
No. I feel that I have to do the best as I can to bring Westerners, and I feel that the temple, in the traditional way, with the food, with the attire, architecture, music, and all that stuff, the way they're taking care of a population of devotees that need. You can't remove that. If you remove that, a lot of souls will become what? They come from Indian heritage. They need to become devotees as well. I think we have to take care of them. So it's a different type of job per se. You know what I mean? This job is going to take care of this people. This job is going to take care of that people. But you can neglect either. That's how I feel. That's how I see it. We cannot neglect. They are devotees, wonderful devotees, wonderful people. We can't neglect them. Now, if they speak in Gujarati at the temple and this and that is happening, well, that can be adjusted. I think, it's just a matter of the leadership. And eventually will be adjusted because, things are changing. That's the nature of the material world. Everything's changing, and it will change. In one conversation that I had a while ago with H.D. Goswami is that if in a future both merge, that would be the ideal. No differentiation whatsoever.
I admire your faith, or Shraddha. You have a lot of faith in the future. I may be a bit more despondent, but I admire your faith. You're very cheerful about the future of the ISKCON movement.
We have to be, I guess, because I don't know, the way I feel, and I'm at everything through Srila Prabhupada. It wasn't here anymore. It was 1981. Actually, it was 1980, because I turned. No, it was throughout my birthday is the end of the year, so it was throughout the 1981. So since the beginning of the year, so I didn't know Prabhupada wasn't here, but he was not. He was gone for 4 years already, which is not that much time. And let's say if I was 4 years earlier, I could be Prabhupada disciple or something like that. Of course, I would be too young, but I'll be 17 years old, too young. But anyway, this legacy needs to continue. There's no other solution. The world is failing. Failing in health, failing in politics, failing in economy, failing everywhere. It's failing. It's failing the population. Everything is failing. The only solution is Krishna consciousness. There's no other solution. We can thinking over and over, studying philosophy, studying, and that was being done. There's several devotees that are studying this. There's no other solution. The only solution is a change of heart. You have to change of heart. Ideology can take someone to a certain direction, but ideology is not going to make someone change their heart. It needs a practice. We see how many beautiful music, beautiful poetry, beautiful books, positive thinking. There's a lot, and you go online, you can, if you want, you can find millions. They are saying very beautiful things, but not changing people because there's no practice. We have to do something. It's called jagya, right? You have to do something. You have to participate in the wheel that is turning the universe. We receive, we give, we receive, we give. And what else? What other philosophy that is doing this? That can do that? Only Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is chanting Hare Krishna. And I see so clear two things. People come, they start to understand the philosophy and then disappear. And then if I had a chance to talk with them, I see that they're not chanting. They don't have a service for Krishna. They don't have an altar, at least a little picture, offer a flower. Think of Krishna. They're not doing it. And therefore they go away. And it's everywhere, even ISKCON. Traditional ISKCON, we are ISKCON. But even in general temple, you go, how many years I go to the temple? I was treasurer in Brazil, I probably was treasurer for 30 years. I kind of have this facility with numbers, I guess, dealing with government, that kind of documentation. I don't know, I have facility for that kind of stuff. So I was always directed to do that. And I'm seeing people coming, people go, people come, even Indians. And we see that it's the same thing. They're not chanting, and then they don't have a service. They could understand the philosophy, but they don't chant, and they don't have a service. and they go away. And you meet them sometimes, hey, oh, Hare Krishna, come to the temple. Yeah, I'm a little off. I'll come back. But I'll come back. We have to make a decision, and we have to encourage everybody else to make a decision.
I really, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
I was just going to say, I really admire your very positive approach to preaching, bit of a religious term, preaching, sharing sharing's better, isn't it? I'm trying not to use the word preaching, but I admire your positive approach to sharing Krishna consciousness with others. I admire your enthusiasm. You know, and I know from listening to the words of Hridayananda Maharaj that it hasn't been easy. You know, he has received so much criticism for creating Krishna or establishing Krishna West, because Krishna West existed before 2013, but it wasn't given a name. People have been wearing Western clothing for years, but all of a sudden it's given a stamp, it's given a recognition, and
yeah, let's do it this way.
Yeah, and others are kind of slightly fearful of that. And I've heard the stories, you know, Hridayananda Maharaj, being criticized quite heavily for something that I'm from a Western liberal background. My family are not Hare Krishna devotees. From my background, what you wear is irrelevant anyway. Why are people getting so caught up about it or frustrated about it, from kind of a liberal Western upbringing? So I can see that the pains that he's been through to do this. So actually, I mean, Krishna West officially now 11 years this year. How big is Krishna West? I mean, in terms of countries, how active would you say it is globally?
We have connections, Canada, United States, Mexico, Panama, Chile, big in Chile.
Wow.
And Brazil also. Brazil is also big, and Argentina. We have some members in UK, and Italy, Germany.
Yeah, and also Israel.
Israel, big.
There's a really big community in Israel,
yes.
And that's interesting. There's probably lots of different social reasons for that, because of the history of Israel. But yeah, I remember seeing many years ago a huge kirtan in Israel, a Krishna West kirtan in Israel with Hridayananda Maharaj. And I remember looking at it, feeling very impressed, but yeah, definitely Israel. I mean, in the UK, you've got one in Scotland as well as England.
Yes, the one in Scotland,
which is, it's a bit colder up there.
You were there with
yes,
Krishna, and
I travel a lot.
But that's how we met.
Yeah, it was. I've been to the Krishna West Scotland events, and I have interviewed Param Shreya in Germany before.
Param Shreya, yes.
Param Shreya. So he's a big Krishna West flag carrier in Germany. And I think his journey is similar to yours. He's been in ISKCON for decades. He used to wear dhoti, used to wear all of that, and now he definitely doesn't wear it. So
I can say about that, my personal thing. When I got married, I had to work and go places to work, and I wasn't wearing dhoti tilak because I go to work, and my sika, I was with a little bigger hair so I can hide my sika because it was a little awkward for people. And I actually reduced my sika very tiny. And because I need to work, I don't want to be put on the side here. I need a family. I need to do this, right? So, and then throughout the years, I actually felt that I was already Krishna West. I just had to have a name. I'm dealing with my parents. I encouraged my father because he was a Christian, but he wasn't going to the church or anything. And I encouraged him. I encouraged him to the point that he chanted the rosary every day for an hour.
Mm.
And my mom and him together, they watched the mass, the class, every single day at 6 p.m.
Wow.
And we have awesome relationship. He stayed with us here several times. Now I'm going to Brazil. I'm going to stay with them a few 3 weeks so we have a wonderful relationship with my sister, with everybody. So I was kind of I was already there, I just didn't have a mindset per se, to do this way and present this way to other people. I was just relying going to the temple. And I was thinking, and I changed my mind completely about temples, actually. My thinking nowadays that why do have to have this temple, and this temple is the owner of the whole city if the city is at 2 million, 3 million people. If it's a city of 5,000, 20,000, yeah, it's okay. But 3 million people, like Orlando metro area, no, you have to have 50. Why one? People are not going to drive an hour and a half to go. You need to be right there, just like a church. Just like the Christians did like that. They opened different, we have to do the same thing. And then what encouraged me to that thinking, kind of confirming that thinking that I had, was a conversation that I don't know why I haven't heard this before, but I read, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, a conversation with Jamuna, that she was living outside the temple and the devotees were criticizing. It was there in the UK, and they were criticizing her, Shamashundra, her husband, right? I guess. And then she was kind of crying to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada, no. And he spoke about 2 points very nicely. One, compatibility, association. And he was saying association could be 2 or 200, but needs to be compatible. And the second part that about the chanting, and she's not there with the chanting, and Prabhupada is saying ISKCON is where someone is chanting Hare Krishna. Wherever someone is chanting Hare Krishna, that's ISKCON. And that touched me very, this is it, Can't say ISKCON, of course, has to be a legalized corporation. We live in the times that's needed. If you want to have a property, the insurance, this legal stuff, you got to have that. Prabhupada knew, and he made it happen. But it's not only that. You can't be thinking that it's that. If someone read Prabhupada's book someplace, remote, somewhere, and chant Hare Krishna, that's his fault. So I feel and like to think that way.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. I do appreciate it. I've got one final question for you, because believe it or not, we've been chatting for a long time, but I just want to ask about your parents. So you've talked about your parents, which is fantastic, but and they live in Brazil, do they?
Yes, they live in Rio.
They must be, what am I trying to say diplomatically? They must be of a certain age.
My father is 89 and my mom is 84.
It's amazing. It's amazing, because obviously you revealed to me your age before we hit the record button, and I think it's fantastic. Your parents are still with us.
Yes,
it's you're very fortunate.
Yes, yeah. I think I feel my fortune because they are very religious. My father is vegetarian. My mom almost. And I was impressed when they came here in the beginning of the year. They stayed for us in May for 30 days. When they arrived, they changed the gate here in the airport somehow, and I didn't know, and I was waiting on a wrong gate. So they come out, they don't see us, don't see me, my wife, and my daughter. They don't see us. And they were directly to go to the baggage claim. So they're sitting, they got the baggage and they're sitting there. And my mom told me, I start to pray to Krishna, 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 please find my son. And my father went out, and he is a little lost nowadays. So he went out, and then as soon as he went up the, because there's 2 stories, the Magic Lane is 1 story, and the hallway thing is on another level. So he goes to this other level, and boom, find my wife and my daughter, because I went to another gate to what happened, you know, and we find each other. And I was very emotional and like, what do you say? Anyway, you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah.
And very moved by my mom telling me, oh, I was praying to Krishna, I was praying to Krishna. And I said to her, and then Krishna answered you. And she said, yes. You know, it was very nice.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And and just finally, we could have ended on that, actually. That's a wonderful thing to hear. But just finally, in terms of Krishna West, how can people get involved with Krishna West? I recognize a lot of the world doesn't have Krishna West groups, but if somebody listening to this in Portugal or somewhere in Europe wants to get involved with Krishna West, how can they do that?
Well, we have a website, krishnawest.com, and you can send an email. Actually, myself and another devotee received the emails, and we can try to direct to some connections, you know.
Yeah. I mean, we live in a digital world, don't we?
Yeah.
You know, even if there's nobody in your country, you can connect on the internet.
Yeah, the time difference sometimes is an obstacle, you know, because 5 p.m., for example, my meeting's 5 p.m. It will be 10 p.m. for you, you know.
Yeah.
And then maybe 11 for someone else a little further to the east.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that could be you know, I had that. There's an Italian lady that comes sometimes, but she's not coming much because she's busy. I exchange emails with her, and she said, yeah, the time difference between Italy and you is a bit too much for me, and I have to work, I have to organize things, and comes the weekend, you know. But I'm studying Bhagavad Gita, you know. I'm going to the online classes of H.D. Goswami, you know. I'm chanting and doing my best. And she's
That's good. That's good. That's good. Wonderful. Okay. Well, believe it or not, Ishana Prabhu, we've been chatting. We've been recording this podcast for well over an hour. It's been really good to have you as a guest this week on the podcast.
Thank you.
I feel a little bad that you're the first official guest from Krishna West.
Don't worry about it.
I mean, we've had supporters of Krishna West on before, but you're the first Krishna West leader. And I feel slightly guilty, and some of our viewers will know why. I've taken so long to get to Krishna West. I guess I didn't want to show favoritism myself, because people know privately my views.
It's very difficult. Be unbiased.
Yes,
it's very difficult, because even in philosophy, when you study philosophy, you see that doesn't really happen. Oh, I'm a philosopher. Oh, I'm a scientist. You know, I'm a journalist. It never happened, because you receive the information and you acquire that information based on what you know and your experiences. And then you're going to explain your own way. And in science and philosophy, there's always a little thing here, a little thing there, you know, which is difficult. It's almost, it's very difficult to be unbiased completely, 100%.
We all have preconceived ideas. We have preconceived ideas, innate prejudices from childhood, from past lives. You know, we how can we really look at something completely unbiased? You know,
get rid of it.
Yeah, and we will think of something or think of someone based on something else. You know.
And the beautiful that I see very, very beautiful is that Krishna understands that.
Yes.
And then he preached, well, he teaches, he doesn't preach, he teaches in certain way when he made Arjuna to go to that experience of being confused, which he made Arjuna being, is a service that Arjuna did. It's a pure soul, so I'm not going to fall in illusion. But he did that. He placed Arjuna in that situation because we are in that situation. That's beautiful because we can relate. And now H.D. Goswami is translating the Mahabharata, which for I didn't know, and most of us didn't know, there are more than 50 versions. He realized, he said, whoa, what am I going to do? 50. Who is? So he started to weed out the differences and disregard, and also see with the lenses of Dharma, the lenses of a person like Arjuna. What would he do? He would act this way or that way, because there's stories that there are contradictions in the stories. So he started to think of that way, and then he's translating as a novel with this lenses, of Dharma, of what would they do, what type of people they were, all this sociology, cultural, historical context. Very nice. I don't know if you had the chance to read. It's in Amazon and as audiobook, and it's coming out by the end of this year in print.
Wow.
The first book. There are going to be several.
Wow. And has Hridayananda Maharaj indicated how long this might take? There's 7 books. I mean,
No.
No.
I'm afraid of asking.
Yeah, it sounds like a massive task.
I just encourage him, please concentrate. Don't get involved with us, management. No, just do this. This is going to really help society.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to it. And
I read the first one because it was the devotees in Brazil. They grabbed the audiobook, they translated, and then printed.
Wow.
So I have a printed version. Actually, they came out before the audiobook, because the audiobook, H.D. Goswami himself spoke, because it was very expensive to pay a professional. And he ended up doing himself because he wanted to give some emotion, some, a way of saying that only a professional could be able to do it. And it would be very expensive. So he ended up doing himself. So I read and start with Satyavati. And actually start with her father and her mother, and why she was living in this fisherman village, and this whole story.
Ishana Prabhu, it's been great to have you as the guest on this week's podcast.
Thank you for having me. I hope I didn't speak too much.
Not at all. I actually like it when the guest speaks a lot, so I can sit back and listen. It's been fantastic to hear your story. Yeah, you've been around the movement for a long time, which is very encouraging. You've kind of stuck to the path, and you're 44 years later, 43 years later,
40.
Yeah, you're still sharing Krishna consciousness with others, and you're leading a very vibrant Krishna West group in Orlando, Florida, which is wonderful. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna say goodbye to the viewers at home.
Okay.
And then you and I can have a very brief
Thank
debrief after. But yeah, a big thank you to Ishana Prabhu for being our guest, the 133rd guest. what's a number? I don't know if it means anything, 133. Whenever I say a number, say, oh, Prabhu, this means this, you know, and this number means this. But anyway,
I'm not
133.
into those stuff.
No, numerology. So a big thank you to Ishana Prabhu for being our guest on this week's podcast. Do not forget, if you're watching this, thank you. Do not forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, so you can be kept updated about future podcasts from the Hare Krishna Project, and or if you're watching this on Facebook, to like or follow the Hare Krishna Project Facebook page. I know that this works because every time I say it, the number of subscribers does increase. So you are listening to me, which is fantastic. And also, do not forget, I love to receive feedback, constructive feedback. There's a good chance that some of you listening won't agree with the principles of Krishna West, and that's okay, because, well, Britain is a democracy. The United States is a democracy. You can have your own view. It is allowed. And even in other countries, you're allowed your own view as well. But please give your feedback constructively. We want to hear from you and hear your thoughts on what we've discussed in this week's episode. So until next week, I will see you all soon. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.